Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Lepri of Stokastic.com, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my week number 17 FanDuel Contenders. Inside today's video, we're going to be talking about my top 8 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends in terms of optimal percentage on the week. At number 8 at each position is the least optimal, and at number 1, you guessed it, the most optimal player. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. Today's video is being brought to you guys by BetMGM, who we're to be talking about a little bit later. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 17 FanDuel Contenders. We begin with the quarterback position at number 8 with Mac Jones of the Patriots going up against the Dolphins at home in Foxborough, 6,400. At number 7, we have Desmond Ridder of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Cardinals at home in Atlanta, 6,300. At number 6, we have Aaron Rodgers, Mr. Discount Double Check of the Packers going up against the Minnesota Vikings at home in Green Bay, 7,100. At number 5, where the true breakdown begins, we have the Goffinator, Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions going up against the Chicago Bears at home in Detroit, 7,400. This week on FanDuel, projected for 18.8 fantasy points via our Stokastic projections. The team is first in implied point total with 29, and they are 6-point favorites in this spot against the Bears. 7.3 optimal percentage for Jared Goff and 5.4 boom percentage. In terms of wet dream matchups on the week, this is truly up there at the top. I really do believe this is going to be one of the highest scoring games on the week. The Detroit Lions defense is soft as baby shit, and Jared Goff will be able to easily take advantage of a piss-poor Chicago Bears defense. Jared Goff has been playing extremely well as of recently, and the team has kind of leaned away from the rushing attack, giving Jared Goff even more opportunity to throw for a lot of fantasy football points. I love him in this spot at 7,400. At number 4, we have Big Cock Brock Purdy of the 49ers going up against the Las Vegas Raiders in Viva Las Vegas, $7,000 on FanDuel this week, projected for 17.3 fantasy points, fourth in implied point total with 26, 10-point favorites in this spot with a 7.9 optimal percentage and a 7.8 boom percentage. Another matchup where we got a quarterback going up against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. The Raiders are straight dog shit. The problem here is that the Raiders switched from Derek Carr to Jarrett Stidham. So this is a game where the Niners might be beating the dog piss out of the Raiders and then, look away from the pass. Brock Purdy won't have to throw as much. They run the rock gently down the stream, and Brock Purdy doesn't really have all that great of a game. Now, could he get it done in the first half and have a good enough performance to where Brock Purdy was worthy of being played at $7,000 on FanDuel? Definitely, but my confidence in him is relatively low because the likelihood of this game being a back-and-forth affair is extremely low. At number 3, we have Daniel Jones of the Giants going up against the Colts at home in MetLife, $7,300 on the week, projected for 19.2 fantasy points. The team is 13th in applied point total with 22.5, 6-point favorites, 8.3 optimal percentage with a 6.3 boom percentage. Jeff Saturday has been getting his shit pushed in and game out, and Daniel Jones has been on a roll as of recently, despite the fact that they don't really have a true number 1 wide receiver. Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James, Darius Slayton have all filled in very solidly for this team. This is a great matchup up against the Colts, but another matchup where the Colts might just roll over and die. They don't have much fight in them with 9-inch Nicholas Foles under center. At number 2, we have Patty Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Denver Broncos at home in Kansas City. $9,000 on the week, projected for 22.3 fantasy points. The team is second in applied point total with 28.75, 12.5-point favorites, 8.5 optimal percentage with a 7.7 boom percentage. Now, last time these two teams played, Russell Wilson had an awakening. This was truly the best game we saw out of Russell Wilson all year, and this matchup somehow was close. Earlier on in the season, the Chiefs were kind of letting teams stay with them. They were kind of playing with the food of the other team, right? They weren't just going for the kill. But recently, they've been kind of stomping all over teams. I think that could happen here up against the Broncos. I know the Broncos have one of the best defenses in the NFL, but when Patrick fucking Mahomes is under center, that doesn't matter at all. At number 1, we got Justin Fields of the Bears going up against the Lions in Detroit, 8,400. Projected for 22.1 fantasy points, 11th in implied point total with 23. 6-point dogs, 11.2 optimal percentage with a 9.3 boom percentage. Now, Justin Fields shit the bed in a big way and tried to run to the bathroom. Couldn't make it. There was just shit all over the floor. And it didn't look good against the Buffalo Bills. But this week, he goes down the rung in terms of playing up against a defense because the Bills' defense, pretty skilled. Lions defense, the exact opposite. Again, this game, you smell that? It reeks of a high-scoring tit-for-tat, rock'em sock'em haymaker affair where we see a shit ton of points being scored, and I love Justin Fields at this spot as our number 1 most optimal quarterback on the week. Now we move to the running back position, beginning at number 8 with Saquon Barkley of the Giants going up against the Colts, 9,200. At 7, Kenneth Walker III of the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Jets, 6,700. At number 6, we have Travis Etienne of the Jags going up against the Texans in Houston, 7,700. At number 5, we have Ron Jones of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Minnesota Vikings, 7,600. Projected for 14.4 fantasy points, 5th in applied point total with 25.75. 3.5-point favorites, 13.1 optimal percentage with a 7.8 boom percentage. The matchup, great. Amazing wet dream matchup. The issue is Aaron Jones hasn't looked great recently, and he's also banged up. Now, I fully expect him to be good to go here, but with how well A.J. Dillon has looked, and with the price being $7,600, I understand it's not like you're paying the fucking mother load for Aaron Jones, but $7,600, he's not cheap. Especially with the other running backs we have listed above him. Again, I like Aaron Jones, the player. I think toe-to-toe, if you had to say, oh, who's better, Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon, I'd say Aaron Jones. But Dillon's been playing better. His usage has been going up. So I'm not completely sold on Ron Jones this week. At number 4, we have Tyler Algier of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Cardinals at home in Atlanta. $6,700 on FanDuel this week. Projected for 13.1 fantasy points, 12th in applied point total with 22.75. 3.5-point favorites, 15.2 optimal percentage, 7.8 boom percentage. The Arizona Cardinals starting quarterback is David Blau. David Blau. They're not going with Trace McSorley. Colt McCoy's concussed. Kyler Murray's playing Warzone. And we got a bad game here. This game sucks. But hey, the team has been committed to Tyler Algier. They give him an ass load of carries, not an ass load of carries, game in and game out. The team could be getting their back blown out, 50 Shades of Grey style dominated, and you know what's going to happen? They're going to run the ball. They're going to dominate the other team. They're going to run the ball. They love to run the rock. They're punting the season off to next year. A lot of injuries. Everything goes wrong. Algier is going to see so many carries in this spot. The Cardinals defense is bad against the run. I love Tyler Algier this week at 6,700. At number 3, we got B-Rob, Brian Robinson of the Commanders. Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders going up against the Cleveland Browns at home in Washington, 6,900. Projected for 15.6 fantasy points. The team is 18th in applied point total with 21.25, 21. Can you do something for me? 2-point favorites, 21.6 optimal percentage, 11.9 boom percentage. Without Antonio Gibson, we are going to be able to see a lot more of a hefty workload for Brian Robinson. I also think Brian Robinson's targets should go up. Brian Robinson, not really a guy that's incompetent in terms of catching passes, but when you have Antonio Gibson, that's his role, right? He's the pass catching back. So now without Antonio Gibson, I think Brian Robinson's going to see a couple more dump offs. I hate the fact that the team's going with Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz kills the mood. Taylor Heineke's fun and all. He does crazy shit, does some 360s, tries to throw the ball into quadruple coverage. It's fun. Carson Wentz is the opposite of fun. But at the end of the day, I think even with Wentz back under center, Brian Robinson could go to town. At number 2, we got my guy Ramondre Stevenson of the Patriots going up against my Miami Dolphins at home in Foxborough, $7,000. But before we break down Ramondre Stevenson, talk about the final running back, and then do a deep dive Michael Phelps style into the wide receivers and tight ends, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor of today's video over at BetMGM. Now, if you are a brand new user to BetMGM, click on the link in the video description or in the pinned comment down below. You can get 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum, NFL and NBA, and up to a $1,000 risk-free bet when you sign up, make a deposit, and make your first paid wager at BetMGM. Again, it's very simple to sign up. Click on the link in the video description, create a free Stokastic membership using the form down below, or log in if you already have a Stokastic.com account. Then you are going to click on the huge BetMGM button that appears after you register and log in. Then you complete the necessary steps with BetMGM. Create a BetMGM account, deposit at least $10, make your first paid bet, and then once your first paid bet qualifies, so once it settles, once the bet ends, then you will get an email from BetMGM Sportsbook with instructions about how to redeem your 2 free months of Stokastic plus Platinum. I know the football season's almost over. It's sad. I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight. But at the end of the day, the NBA is still flourishing. It's NBA time, baby. For all of us NFL guys, the NBA is coming back. It's going to be fun. Even though the NBA's been back, it's back for me because I don't watch it during the NFL season. I am very excited to talk about the NBA, and I'm very excited about this offer. Make sure you check it out. Link in the video description. Again, you'll get a $1,000 risk-free bet, up to $1,000 risk-free bet, and 2 free months of Stokastic plus Platinum. Just click on the link in the video description down below to activate your offer. Again, back to Ramondre Stevenson. The Miami Dolphins have one of the best run defenses in the NFL, and Stevenson has been on the opposite of a roll. He's the opposite of on fire. He's ice fucking cold. Projected for 15.7 fantasy points, 23.1 optimal percentage, 16 boom percentage. This game I project to be a snooze fest. There's a lot of games we talked about where it's like bang, bang, high scoring game, super fun. Your eyes will ejaculate watching these games. This is a game where your eyes you might fall asleep, watching the Dolphins versus the Patriots. Now, as a Dolphins fan, I hope the Dolphins smack the shit out of the Patriots. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a close game. And Stevenson has shit the bed multiple weeks in a row, and that's going to scare people off, especially at the $7,000 Ruski price tag. So when people get scared, that's when you pounce and you take the player that people are nervous about. They're scared. And now you play him when people are scared against the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins do have a great run defense. I'm not a huge fan of Stevenson this week, but the more I think about how stupid it would be to play him, the more I realize that I should probably just play him because I'm uncomfortable with the play. And to be honest with you, the Dolphins defense is pretty bad away, and this game is in Foxborough. At number 1, we have Christian McCaffrey and the Niners going up against the Raiders in Viva Las Vegas. $9,500 for Christian McCaffrey, projected for 21.1 fantasy points, 4th in implied point total with 26, 10-point favorites, 24.4 optimal percentage with a 22.8 boom percentage. Now, again, my biggest worry about McCaffrey here, the team runs a train on the Raiders early. Jarrett Stidham, dog shit. They can't do anything in the second half, so they take McCaffrey out, and they start running with TDP, with Jordan Mason. And then McCaffrey, since you paid $9,500, if he doesn't have a really big game, you're going to be pissed off. And you know what they say? It's better to be pissed off than pissed on. But at the end of the day, it might feel like McCaffrey pissed on you, gave you a bit of a golden shower if they end up benching him in the second half, which I think is probable. So while I love McCaffrey, I love the matchup. It's a wet dream, amazing matchup. The context around it is a little bit spooky. At number 8, now we move to the receiver position with Chris Moore of the Houston Texans going up against the Jaguars at home in Houston, 5,600. At number 7, we got CK, and we ain't talking Calvin Klein. We're talking Christian Kirk of the Jags going up against the Houston Texans in Houston, 6,900. At 6, we have Christian Watson, his availability up in the air of the Packers going up against the Vikings, 7,600. At number 5, we have Tyler Lockett in my pocket, skirt, of the Seattle Seahawks going up against the New York Jumbo Jets, $6,000. Now, I get why our projections like him. He won't have to be on Sauce Island. The Seattle Seahawks need to win this game. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot because of Magic Mike White. What scares me about this play is Lockett's health is up in the air. The motherfucker just had surgery on his hand, and to catch the football, you use your hands. So, I'm not a doctor. Far from one. I got a history degree, but Tyler Lockett, the fact that his hand is messed up and he's got to catch the ball because he's a receiver, that's concerning. And I don't think I need to be a fucking doctor to give some assessment like that. Projected for 11 fantasy points, 19th in applied point total with 20.25, 2-point dogs. They're barking, 13.3 optimal percentage, 5.6 boom percentage. Could the Seahawks win this game? Of course. But is Tyler Lockett going to be a huge factor with the banged up hand? I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a buffoon. But I'm scared of Tyler Lockett. At number 4, we got Justin Jefferson, the king of the gritty himself of the Minnesota Vikings, going up against the cheesehead bastards, the Green Bay Packers. $9,200 on FanDuel this week. Projected for 15.9 fantasy points, 14th in applied point total, 22.25. Tied with the Jets, 3.5 point dogs, 13.4 optimal percentage with a 12.1 boom percentage. Obviously, it's a hefty price tag at $9,200. But at the end of the day, you know what you're getting with Justin Jefferson. The Packers DBs are talking a little bit of shit on Justin Jefferson, and I think Justin Jefferson is going to let his nuts hang all over the Green Bay Packers. Doesn't matter what defense Justin Jefferson's playing. The Packers defense recently has looked a little bit better. I'm not here to tell you they're one of the best defenses in the NFL, because that would be fabricated. It would be fugazi, a fucking lie. But hey, I think Jefferson should have a big game. I know the price tag's a little spooky. 15.9 fantasy points projected, 14th in applied point total, tied with the Jets, 3.5 point dogs to the Packers, 13.4 optimal percentage, 12.1 boom percentage. I love Justin Jefferson this week. I'm paying up to get him. At number 3, we got the Lazard King, Allen Lazard of the Packers, going up against the Vikings, 6,200. I feel like this is assuming that Watson doesn't play, because if Watson plays, I don't know how you could really love Lazard this much. Now, I like Lazard. I think he's a good player. In terms of fantasy football, if you guys know, this isn't the fantasy football channel, but I make fantasy football videos, Notorious Fantasy by Stokastic Fantasy Football. I loved Allen Lazard. I was banging the drum for him. I love him. But he didn't end up panning out this year. I still think he's a good player, though, especially up against a garbage Vikings defense. Projected for 10.8 fantasy points, 5th in applied point total, 3.5 point favorites, 13.4 optimal percentage, 5.8 boom percentage. I like the play of Allen Lazard, but Watson has to be out for me to do it. Could he still get there with Watson out there? Yes, but the likelihood is significantly lower. At number 2, we got Garrett Wilson of the Jets going up against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, 7,300. Projected for 12.3 fantasy points, 13.8 optimal percentage, 5.6 boom percentage. Garrett Wilson, a lot of people are going to play him. Magic Mike White is back with Zach Wilson, the MILF Hunter under center. This team was fucking drowning. But like a lifeguard, Magic Mike White is back to save them. Like when SpongeBob and Patrick get saved by David Hasselhoff in the water in the SpongeBob movie. Garrett Wilson is coming back for revenge. He's tired of the guy with the same last name of him, Zach Wilson. The Seahawks defense, not the best. Big game coming for Mr. GW. At number 1, we're not talking George Washington. At number 1, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions going up against the Bears at home in Detroit, $8,200. Projected for 16.7 fantasy points. The team is number one in implied point total with 29. 6-point favorites, 28.1 optimal percentage, 18.1 boom percentage. This is a luxurious spot. This is a wet dream matchup. You wake up in the morning and you have Amon-Ra St. Brown in your lineup, and there's just a little bit more blood flow downstairs because Amon-Ra St. Brown is incredible. Now, recently, he's been taking a nap, sleeping, knocked out, but this week against Chicago, a garbage, bottom of the barrel defense. I gotta love Mr. St. Brown. And this is also the St. Brown battle because Equiminius St. Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown, one's on the Lions, Amon-Ra Equiminius is on the Bears. Very fun narrative there. Now we move to the tight end position. At number 8, we got TJ Hawkinson of the Vikings going up against the Packers in Green Bay, 7,000. This guy just went to pound town on the Giants last week. David Njoku at 7 of the Browns going up against the Commanders. Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders, 5,600. At number 6, we actually have one of my favorite tight ends on the week. Price tag's a little up there on FanDuel, but George Kittle me Timbers of the Niners going up against the Raiders, 7,400. At number 5, we have Mark Andrews of the Ravens going up against the Steelers, 6,300. Now, last year, Andrews was dominating. He was amazing with Tyler Huntley under center. This year, terrible. Dog shit. Garbage. Trash. Projected for 9.5 fantasy points. 24th in applied point total of 18.75. Tied with the Panthers. 2.5 point favorites. 9.3 optimal percentage. 7.4 boom percentage. Look, the matchup's fine. Has nothing to do with the matchup. Just Andrews hasn't done shit recently, so we can't have him ranked higher than this. Number 4, we got my guy Dallas Goedert of the Eagles going up against the Saints. $6,000 projected for 8.9 fantasy points, 8th in applied point total, 24.25, 6.5 point favorites, 10.4 optimal percentage, 7.6 boom percentage. Jalen Hurts most likely not going to play. We're going to see Gardner Minshew back under center. Saints defense doesn't scare me one bit. The only problem with Goddard is that he relies heavily on efficiency. He's never really going to be a guy that sees 6+ targets in a game. There are some tight ends on this list, like Hawkinson. If he saw 8 targets in a game, you wouldn't bat an eye. Same thing with Kittle, Andrews, Njoku. But for Goddard, it's like, yeah, he's going to get 4 targets, 4 catches, go 4 for 4 like he's at fucking Wendy's. 60 yards if he scores a touchdown, hallelujah. If he doesn't, he's just going to be decent. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the price tag, I like a couple tight ends slightly better. At number 3, we got Cole Kmet of the Bears going up against the Lions in Detroit, 5,300, projected for 8.4 fantasy points, 11.5 optimal percentage, 7.8 boom percentage. I'm a big Cole Kmet fan. During the middle of this season, he really awoke. Had some solid games. Recently, he's been back in the fucking chair taking a nap. But look, there's ever a game where Kmet would go crazy, go bananas, it would be up against the Lions. At number 2, we got EZE, Evan Ingram, the king of the Butterfingers, Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Texans in Houston, 5,800. Now, normally, when you got someone playing the Texans in your head, you're thinking, all right, they are going to get butt-fucked here. They're going to destroy the Texans and then bench people or not try as hard in the second half. Well, the Texans have been sneaky good at crawling the way back into games to where teams can't just like bench a guy like Evan Ingram. Projected for 9.2 fantasy points, 10th in implied point total, 23.75, 4-point favorites, 11.8 optimal percentage, 8.6 boom percentage. Look, Ingram exploded last week. Like a beautiful firework. Gets the Texans this week. Still relatively cheap at 5,800. I just have to hop back in the well here at number 1. You guessed it. Bitch, you guessed it. Travis Kelce, the Chiefs, going up against the Broncos, 8,300. Projected for 14.4 fantasy points, 14.2 optimal percentage, 19.4 boom percentage. Every week we talk about Kelce, I say the exact same thing. I don't feel like sitting here and having some type of crazy breakdown because we all know why you want to play Travis Kelce, because he's the best tight end in the National Football Leagues. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you ended up enjoying, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY, and please make sure that you check out our offer with our not our brand new sponsor. They've actually been the sponsor of like all these videos. BetMGM. They're on my hat as well, even though the hat's backwards. Been on the hat the whole entire time. Shout out to BetMGM. Shout out to you for watching today's video. I love you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And let's eat some W's, famous Jameis Winston style, this weekend. Love you guys. See you back next week. Good boy!